This story is inspired by the real case of Kenneka Jenkins, 2017, Rosemont, Illinois. Let us know in the comments which city and country you're watching from. What if your best friend invited you to a party, and it turned out to be the last time anyone would ever see you alive? This isn't just a tragedy. It's a real-life mystery that shattered a family, set the internet on fire, and left behind more questions than answers. The story of Kenneka Jenkins is not just about a girl who went missing. It's about how a celebration turned into a viral nightmare, and how a hotel freezer became the tomb of a teenager who never got to say goodbye. It was supposed to be a fun Friday night. September 8, 2017. Kenneka Jenkins, just 19 years old, vibrant, full of life, got dressed up to go to a party at the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, near Chicago. Like so many others her age, she was there to laugh, dance, post a few snaps, and make memories with friends. But instead, she became a headline. Hours after arriving, Kenneka simply vanished. Her friends said she was just drunk, that she wandered off, that she had her phone, her keys, but not her car. She had just disappeared. No goodbye, no message, nothing. But what happened next would haunt everyone who followed the case. After 21 hours of searching, Kenneka's body was found, inside a walk-in freezer, deep in the hotel's deserted kitchen area. Alone, frozen, lifeless. The hotel surveillance footage showed something chilling. Kenneka, staggering through the empty halls, visibly disoriented, bumping into walls, dragging her feet. At 3:20 a.m., she's caught on camera walking, alone, into the hotel's kitchen area. And then, nothing. No one follows her. No one helps. The cameras don't show her entering the freezer, but they don't show her leaving either. The official cause of death? Hypothermia. But here's the twist that sparked national outrage. The medical examiner also found alcohol in her system, and topiramate, a prescription drug for epilepsy and migraines. A drug Kenneka wasn't prescribed. Combined, the two substances can enhance disorientation and impair judgment, and possibly tragically, explain how she ended up walking into that freezer and never walking out. But Kenneka's family wasn't convinced. How does a young woman, under the influence or not, get that deep into the hotel without someone noticing? Why was the freezer even accessible, in a dark, unused kitchen? Why did it take hotel staff 21 hours to find her body, after her mother, frantically searching, begged for help? Was it negligence? Was it something more sinister? And then came the internet. Within hours, our justice for Kenneka exploded on social media. Amateur detectives began dissecting the surveillance videos frame by frame. Some claimed to see shadows. Others thought they heard voices in the background of Snapchat videos. Conspiracies swirled like a storm. Was Kenneka set up by her friends? Did someone lure her there? Was the hotel hiding something? To this day, there are more theories than answers. But the real story, what actually happened behind those hotel doors, is far darker than most people imagine. Because behind the viral hashtags and protests, behind the media frenzy and press conferences, is a mother who refused to stop fighting. A mother who believed her daughter didn't just die. She was failed. And in the next part, we go deeper into the footage, the timeline, and the moment the hotel finally opened that freezer door. Because the truth they found inside wasn't just cold, it was terrifying. The night started like any other. Friends, selfies, music, laughter. But if you slow down the footage, if you listen closely to the cracks in the timeline, something feels off. The last known hours of Kenneka Jenkins are a puzzle, and each piece reveals more than just a night gone wrong. It reveals a system that failed, a hotel that hesitated, and friends who may have known more than they ever admitted. Around 11:30 p.m., on September 8th, Kaneka arrived at the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois, for a party being held in one of the rooms on the 9th floor. Her friends documented it all: Instagram lives, Snapchat stories, short video clips filled with thumping music and red plastic cups. But something was lurking beneath the surface of those digital moments. Something that viewers would later obsess over. In one infamous video, recorded on Facebook Live, you can hear a girl talking over music. Kaneka is supposedly there, in the room, but she's not clearly visible. The camera points away from her. Some internet sleuths claim to hear her voice. Others swear they hear muffled cries, whispers, even a faint scream. The audio becomes the center of a digital manhunt, as thousands of users slow it down, amplify it, reverse it, searching for clues that something terrible happened during that live broadcast. By 1:30 a.m., Kaneka was seen on surveillance footage staggering through the hotel hallways. Her gait was unsteady, her arms limp at her sides. She appeared deeply disoriented, like someone not just drunk, but drugged, alone, vulnerable, lost. She walks past the front desk, past empty conference rooms, toward the back corridors of the hotel, a place no guest should wander into by accident. At 3:20 a.m., the camera catches her one last time. She turns into the kitchen area. It's dark, it's industrial, it's completely deserted. And that's it. The footage ends. Kaneka is never seen alive again. When her friends couldn't find her, they called her mother, Teresa Martin, who arrived at the hotel around 5 a.m. in a panic. She pleaded with the staff to check the security footage to help her find her daughter. But the hotel refused, citing policy. Only police could access the cameras. By the time a missing persons report was officially filed, it was nearly 12 hours later. 12 hours of inaction. 12 hours Kaneka could have still been alive. And still no one checked the kitchen. No one unlocked the freezer. It wasn't until 10 p.m. the following night, almost 24 hours after she vanished, that a hotel employee finally opened the freezer door. And there she was, Kaneka Jenkins, lying on the cold floor face down, her hair matted, her body frozen solid. She was still wearing the same outfit from the party: jeans, a jean jacket, a crop top. One of her shoes was off. Her phone was gone. There were no signs of trauma, no bruises, no wounds, no evidence of a struggle. But the question lingered. Why was she there? And more importantly, how did no one notice for so long? As the autopsy would later show, Kaneka died of hypothermia. But that explanation didn't sit right with her mother, or with millions watching online. How could she have wandered into a freezer, by accident, and no one thought to search there? Why was that area even unlocked? Why did the hotel resist helping for so long? And what happened to the people who were with her that night? Coming up next, the friends, the missing phone, the inconsistencies in their stories, and the moment Kaneka's mother took matters into her own hands. Because when the system stood still, she ran toward the truth. When tragedy strikes, the people closest to the victim usually become the loudest voices for justice. But in Kaneka Jenkins' case, the silence was deafening. Her friends, the same ones who invited her to the party, who partied with her that night, became shadows. Their stories didn't align. Their timelines changed. And the deeper Kaneka's mother dug, the more disturbing the cracks in their accounts became. After Kaneka was reported missing, her friends were questioned. They claimed they had left the party to retrieve her car keys, which she had with her. When they returned, they said Kaneka was gone. Vanished. Just like that. No mention of where she might have gone, no panic. At least not right away. Instead, they waited. They hesitated. They didn't call police until hours later. And some of them left the hotel entirely. Why? According to witness reports, some of the friends appeared more concerned about not getting in trouble than about Kaneka's safety. It was revealed they'd used a stolen credit card to rent the hotel room, a fact that made them wary of police involvement. But was that fear enough to explain why no one chased after Kenneka the moment she wandered out of the room? Why no one followed her down the hallway? Why no one called her mother immediately? Teresa Martin wasn't buying it. When the hotel refused to help, when the friends went quiet, she did what any mother would do. She started her own search. She paced the hotel floors. She begged staff to look at the cameras. She knocked on doors. She cried. She demanded. She refused to leave until she got answers. Her persistence forced the hotel to act. It was because of her that security finally reviewed the tapes. Tapes that showed her daughter wandering, vulnerable, slowly making her way to a place where no teenager should have ended up alone. But Teresa saw something else in those videos, something no one could shake. Kenneka's demeanor wasn't just drunk. Her eyes were glassy, her movements erratic. She looked terrified. And in the silence of that footage, in the hollow echo of her footsteps down empty corridors, there was a haunting question screaming through every frame. Was someone following her before the cameras cut off? The footage raised suspicion, not clarity. There were blind spots, missing frames, gaps in the timeline. Conspiracies exploded across social media. Some claimed the footage was edited. Others believed Kenneka was led there, that something had happened in the hotel room, and that the freezer was used to cover it up. And then there was the phone. Kenneka's cell phone, the one she had with her that night, was never recovered. Her mother begged for it. Investigators never found it. It vanished. What was on that phone? Messages? Videos? A final call? Without it, a piece of the puzzle was gone forever. Meanwhile, her friends disappeared from the spotlight. Some deleted social media accounts. Others refused to speak publicly. And for those watching from the outside, the silence began to look like guilt. Teresa Martin refused to be silenced. She stood on street corners with protest signs. She rallied community support. She gave interview after interview, calling out the hotel, the police, the system. Her daughter hadn't just gotten drunk and wandered off. Something happened that night, and she wasn't going to stop until the world knew it. Next, the autopsy, the drug no one expected, and the detail in Kenneka's toxicology report that shocked everyone and reignited the theory that someone else was involved. 3 weeks after Kenneka Jenkins' body was discovered, the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office released the autopsy results. On the surface, the conclusion seemed simple: accidental death due to hypothermia. But when you looked deeper, into the blood work, the toxicology, and the scene itself, nothing about Kenneka's death felt accidental. In fact, one finding would unravel every assumption made so far and reignite the outrage burning across the internet. According to the report, Kenneka's body showed no signs of trauma, no defensive wounds, no blunt force injuries, no indications of a struggle. She was found with her jeans and crop top intact, lying face down inside the freezer, with one shoe off. A detail that chilled many, considering how often disheveled clothing appears in foul play cases. But the real shock came from the chemicals in her system. Kenneka's blood alcohol concentration was 0.112, well above the legal limit to drive, but not enough, alone, to cause death. More importantly, the report found the presence of topiramate, an anti-seizure and migraine medication. Here's the twist: Kenneka had not been prescribed that drug. She wasn't supposed to have it in her system. And combined with alcohol, topiramate can cause intense drowsiness, confusion, impaired motor skills, and in rare cases, loss of consciousness. It was the kind of chemical cocktail that could turn a tipsy partygoer into someone unable to think clearly or escape a deadly situation. The medical examiner stated that the combination likely contributed to her disorientation, that it was, in their words, a significant factor. But that only raised more disturbing questions. Where did she get it? Who gave it to her? Did she take it willingly? Or was it slipped into her drink without her knowledge? Suddenly, the party wasn't just a party. It was a crime scene that had never been investigated as one. Online, theories exploded. Social media detectives pointed to party footage where Kenneka looked dazed, where other girls were laughing while she appeared quiet, unfocused. Some believed she had been drugged. Others said she was targeted. The most viral theory? That her friends set her up. Maybe over jealousy, maybe over a boy, maybe as part of something darker. But no matter how wild the claims, one fact remained. The presence of that unprescribed drug changed everything. Meanwhile, the hotel continued to distance itself. They claimed the freezer was in a construction area, out of use. In a part of the hotel guests had no reason to enter. But surveillance proved otherwise. There were no barriers, no warning signs, and no locks preventing entry. Kenneka simply walked in. The light inside the freezer didn't work. The door closed behind her. And that was it. But the family's attorney pointed out something chilling. The freezer wasn't turned on when it was last used. It had been repowered just days before the party. Why? Who turned it on? And why wasn't it locked? Or even marked? By now, Kenneka's name was on every news outlet in America. Celebrities were tweeting about her. Activists were organizing protests. Outside the Crowne Plaza, crowds gathered night after night, demanding justice. But the police still refused to open a criminal investigation. They stuck to their original story. No foul play, no crime, no charges. But for Teresa Martin, that was unacceptable. Her daughter didn't just walk to her death. Someone, somewhere, knew something. And she would stop at nothing to find out what. In the next chapter, the surveillance footage breakdown, frame by frame, and the shocking inconsistencies that made millions believe the video had been edited to hide the truth. The footage should have brought clarity. Instead, it became the most chilling mystery of all. By the time the surveillance videos from the Crowne Plaza Hotel were released, public trust in the case had already fractured. The footage was supposed to show Kenneka Jenkins' final movements, to prove that she wandered off alone, intoxicated, disoriented. But almost immediately, the internet saw something different, something off, something manipulated. There were 36 hours of footage released by the Rosemont Police Department, compiled from more than 40 cameras throughout the hotel. The images showed Kenneka stumbling through brightly lit hallways, her arms flailing slightly for balance, bumping into walls, even walking into a stairwell. The hotel kitchen, where she was last seen, appeared empty, cold, silent. She enters the frame, and then vanishes. But here's where it gets strange. Online investigators, some with backgrounds in video editing, others simply obsessive true crime fans, started analyzing the footage frame by frame. They noticed timestamps that didn't match up, moments where the seconds skipped ahead. One segment appeared to loop subtly, as if repeating itself. In another, a mysterious shadow moved across a wall, with no visible source, and perhaps the most haunting observation. Despite Kenneka wandering through the hotel for nearly an hour, no other guest appears in any of the frames. Not one, in a busy hotel, on a Friday night. Conspiracy theorists took this and ran with it. Had the footage been edited before release? Was someone removed digitally? Was the hotel hiding something, or someone who had followed her? Then came the voice analyses. Internet users claimed that in the background of the original Facebook Live from the party, you could hear Kenneka saying, "Help me." Others thought they heard laughter, mocking, cruel, as if something had already gone wrong. The theories grew darker by the hour. Secret hotel trafficking rings, organ harvesting, inside jobs. But even for those who didn't believe the most extreme claims, one thing was undeniable. Something had gone very wrong that night, and the footage wasn't helping explain it. In fact, it only deepened the confusion. Why, in a hotel with dozens of cameras, Was there no footage of her actually entering the freezer? Authorities claimed that specific freezer wasn't monitored, that the kitchen area was partially under renovation, that the only camera in the area pointed away from the freezer door. Convenient, many said. Suspicious, others claimed. But the inconsistencies didn't stop there. Some pointed out how clean the footage was. Too clean. No motion blur, no camera shake, no sound. The timestamps, instead of providing answers, became riddles. Sections of video labeled missing, and no satisfactory explanation from police or the hotel. And the public noticed something else: the hotel's refusal to comment. Repeatedly, they issued a few short press statements, but offered no transparency, no apology, no accountability. All while outside, hundreds gathered every night, chanting Kenneka's name, holding signs that read, "We want the truth," and "This could be your daughter." Protesters demanded the footage be independently reviewed, but authorities declined. The Rosemont police declared the case closed. Accidental death, no foul play. But the internet refused to let it go. Next, we dive into the protests, the firestorm that took over Chicago, and how the relentless pressure of the public finally forced the legal system to act, leading to a $10 million settlement that said everything, even if the court said nothing at all. If the police wouldn't fight for Kenneka, the people would. Within days of the autopsy's release, the sidewalks outside the Crowne Plaza Hotel transformed into a battlefield of grief, fury, and determination. Hundreds of protesters, most of them young, black, and from Chicago's South Side, just like Kenneka, stood shoulder to shoulder, chanting her name into the cold Illinois air. "Justice for Kenneka!" They marched, they held vigils, they demanded answers, but most of all, they demanded someone, anyone, take responsibility. At the center of it all was Teresa Martin. Kenneka's mother became more than just a grieving parent. She became a symbol of pain, of perseverance, of the unbearable strength it takes to bury your child and then stand before cameras, demanding justice that refuses to come. News vans lined the streets. National outlets picked up the story. Celebrities like Nicki Minaj, T.I., and even Chance the Rapper used their platforms to amplify the case, asking the same questions everyone else was. How does a teenage girl end up in a hotel freezer, and no one is held accountable? The protests grew. On September 10th, just 2 days after Kenneka's body was found, activists marched from the hotel through Rosemont, shutting down traffic, waving signs, demanding transparency. Hotel management was forced to close their doors temporarily. Guests canceled reservations. Online reviews flooded the internet with warnings and one-star ratings. The Crowne Plaza became synonymous with mystery and mistrust. But still, no arrest, no criminal investigation, no charges filed. The Rosemont Police Department remained firm. They found no evidence of foul play. But to the public, it felt like a cover-up. The longer they stayed silent, the louder the people became. Every unanswered question was a spark, and the fire was spreading fast. Teresa Martin held press conferences where she detailed her daughter's final hours. She questioned why the hotel had waited more than a day to search the freezer. She challenged the police for treating her daughter's death like a footnote. She called out her daughter's friends, demanding they tell the truth. She turned her mourning into a mission. And behind closed doors, something started to shift. Lawyers got involved. Civil rights organizations stepped in. Private investigators began combing through every second of video, every timeline, every inconsistency. The hotel's legal team went into damage control. The case wasn't going away, not on social media, not in the courts, not in the streets. Then, quietly, years later in 2023, something remarkable happened. The Jenkins family reached a $10 million settlement with the hotel and related parties. There was no trial, no admission of guilt, no detailed public explanation. Just a number. A settlement large enough to suggest that someone, somewhere, believed mistakes were made. Serious ones. But for many, the money didn't feel like justice. It felt like silence bought in bulk, a way to close the chapter without answering the questions still burning in the minds of millions. What happened in that hotel room? Why did the staff delay action? Who gave Kaneka that drug? And why, after all this, has no one been held legally accountable? Coming next, the unanswered questions and the theories that just won't die. From party setups to organ trafficking, we unpack the wildest claims and examine which ones might not be so crazy after all. When facts stop making sense, theories take over. With no arrests, no suspects, and no criminal charges, the internet became the courtroom, and everyone became a detective. The story of Kenneka Jenkins wasn't just a case anymore. It had become a digital obsession, and in that obsession, some theories began to take root. Theories that were wild, disturbing, sometimes implausible, and yet chillingly persistent. The most viral theory? That Kaneka was set up. Thousands of people dissected the infamous Facebook Live video from the party. Some claimed you could hear her being attacked in the background. Others zoomed into mirrors, sunglasses, distorted reflections, claiming to see Kaneka unconscious on a bed or slumped in a corner. One frame showed a girl nervously adjusting her hair. Another showed a boy seemingly watching the door. What were they hiding? Comment sections filled with speculation. She was drugged. Her friends sold her out. This was planned. Fueling the fire was the strange behavior of those same friends. None of them gave consistent statements. Some deleted their social media accounts. One even posted party selfies after Kaneka was declared missing. The public didn't just suspect them. They branded them guilty in the court of opinion. Then came a darker theory: organ trafficking. Some users, pointing to the position of Kaneka's body, claimed she had been placed deliberately, that her missing phone was no coincidence, that the hotel had ties to criminal networks. There was no hard evidence to support this theory, and yet, its virality forced major media outlets to address it. Once a story reaches that level of cultural saturation, even the impossible begins to feel plausible. Another theory suggested the footage had been manipulated. As we saw earlier, timestamps skipped, guests were mysteriously absent, and key camera angles were missing. Independent video experts pointed out that several clips seemed compressed or edited, especially near the kitchen entrance. One expert noted that loss of data in surveillance logs was highly unusual in a case under public scrutiny. But even as these ideas spread, the most tragic theory of all remained: that Kaneka really was just left behind. That in a world full of noise and distraction, no one noticed the girl slipping away. That her death was not the result of conspiracy, but of indifference. That her friends didn't follow her because they were too busy partying. That hotel staff didn't act because it wasn't their problem. That police didn't push harder because she was just another black teenager in a city used to mourning black teenagers. And maybe that's the real horror. Because if Kaneka's death was just an accident, it still required a chain of human failures, a system that moved too slowly, friends who didn't look back, cameras that didn't point the right way, doors that weren't locked, a mother's pleas that went unanswered until it was too late. In the end, Kaneka's story became bigger than Kaneka. It became about all the girls who go missing and never get headlines, about all the mothers still waiting for answers, about how easily a young black woman can vanish, and how hard her family must fight just to be heard. In the final chapter, the legacy, how Kaneka's name lives on, in protests, in lawsuits, in changed hotel policies, and in the question we all must ask ourselves: if it had been your daughter, would the world have listened sooner? Some names fade away. Others become echoes that never stop ringing. Kenneka Jenkins never asked to be famous. She didn't want her face on posters, her story dissected in YouTube videos, or her final moments turned into viral theories. She was a girl, a daughter, a friend, a teenager who wanted to dance, laugh, and live. But instead, her death became a symbol, a tragic blueprint of how systems fail, how justice delays, and how grief fights back when the world chooses to look away. After her death, things began to change. Quietly, slowly, but undeniably. The Crowne Plaza Hotel, once seen as just another upscale brand in suburban Chicago, became infamous. Their reviews plummeted, reservations dropped, protesters outside their doors refused to be ignored. And behind closed legal doors, the $10 million settlement spoke volumes, not of guilt admitted, but of damage done. Enough damage that someone, somewhere, knew they could no longer deny responsibility. And what about the police? The investigators who called it an accident and closed the case? Public pressure didn't reopen the investigation, but it changed the conversation. It forced local governments and law enforcement agencies across the country to look at how they handle missing persons reports, especially for young Black women. Kenneka's name was invoked in new training policies. Her face appeared on slideshows in reform meetings. Her story became a case study in how not to handle a tragedy. Then there was her mother. Tariasa Martin didn't disappear after the cameras left. She became an activist. She spoke at rallies. She pushed for legislation. She partnered with organizations to raise awareness about missing Black girls across America. Her daughter was gone, but she made sure no one would forget why. In 2018, she helped launch a foundation in Kenneka's name, focused on support for grieving families and on-demand legal assistance for those whose loved ones are reported missing. She knew what it felt like to beg for help, and she refused to let other parents feel that same helplessness alone. But the true legacy? It lives in the shift, in every protest where her name is chanted, in every family who now asks tougher questions, in every mother who refuses to wait for permission to search for her child, in every viral tweet that reminds the world, Black girls don't just go missing, they're often ignored. Kenneka Jenkins' death will forever remain surrounded by shadows. Some explained, many not. Was it an accident? Was it neglect? Was it something more sinister? Maybe the truth lies somewhere in between. But what's clear, heartbreakingly clear, is that she should be alive today. She should have left that party. She should have gone home. She should have woken up the next morning and laughed with her friends about the night before. Instead, she became the girl in the freezer, the mystery no one could quite solve, the daughter a mother had to bury, the name the world won't forget. And maybe that's the most powerful thing we can do now. Not forget. Because behind every cold case is a warm, beating life that was stolen too soon. And behind every headline is a family still waiting for the answers that never came. Her name was Kenneka Jenkins, and she vanished. But her voice, through us, will never be silenced.